Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Liz, and today we're going to be discussing another possible victim of the Redhead murders. Today we're going to be talking about Priscilla Blevins. Previous video we talked about the Wetzel County Jane Doe, and also if you are not following the true crime community, there was an update for Stacy Lynn Chahorski, which is another video that will be going up because she is another possible victim that's linked to the Redhead murders as well. So I'll talk about that update in that video. But there's kind of a lot of confusion when it comes to the Redhead murders because there's the 5 main victims that have been specifically linked to being possibly the same killer. Now one has an actual person linked to their death. Then there's Elizabeth Lamont, who's another person that has been tied to this. I spoke about her in my first video introducing the Redhead murders to you guys. And the remainder of these victims do not have a person that's linked to their case. Their case is still unsolved, but they are linked to that of the Redhead murders. So there's that kind of ideation that they might be killed by the same person or persons involved in this, but they can't definitively link them to it. So for years, there was a Jane Doe that remained in the state medical examiner's office in Chapel Hill, and she remained unidentified. That was until 2014. This Jane Doe had remained in the storage facility of this medical examiner's office for more than 20 years. I know that sounds a little disgusting, but they did this with hopes that she would be identified because her case was still relatively active and it was an unsolved, unidentified homicide. Well, since 1985, they had been trying to identify this Jane Doe that was found off of Interstate 40 in Haywood County near the state line of Tennessee. A woman named Kathy Howe wondered since July of 1975 exactly what happened to her sister, Priscilla Blevins. Priscilla Blevins disappeared from North Carolina, and at the time that she disappeared, she was about 27 years old. The family would go on to accept that Priscilla was more than likely accepted the fact that she had died. And it set in for the family that wouldn't be able to give her a proper burial or a proper goodbye to their loved one because they didn't have her body. And this, for them, was very saddening. Now, sadly enough, Priscilla's parents both passed away in 2002 and 2001 before they could see what happened to their little girl or see their little girl's remains come home. In October of 2012, Kathy, her sister, was contacted by the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department and told her that Priscilla was found and that she had remained and was remaining in Chapel Hill as the Jane Doe that they had in their storage. Her family finally was at peace where she was. I mean, she was in Chapel Hill all this time, but the question remained, what happened to her? Because they didn't know. Now, Priscilla was born on the 29th of March in 1948. And if you look on Find a Grave, or different websites, they list her death as the 1st of January of 1975, but she went missing on the 7th of July in 1975. So I find that very odd that they have a different death date for her in Find a Grave, but she went missing in July. So kind of odd. And per different unidentified articles, some of them list her death as July 8th of 1975, which is the day after she went missing, which is possible. It's more than likely that did happen, but we don't know. It is quite possible that indeed she did die right after disappearing, but her remains were just simply put on the side of Interstate 40, specifically somewhere where people wouldn't look or wouldn't be nosy enough to look that for quite some time. So she just remained there. Now, Priscilla was last seen on the 7th of July, 1975 by her roommate. And this was at their home on Tyvola Road in Charlotte, North Carolina. And after this day, she was never seen again until the Jane Doe was found off of Interstate 40 in 1985. So that was 10 years after she went missing is her body would be discovered off the side of Interstate 40. And unfortunately for Priscilla, she wouldn't get her name back until October 18th of 2012. That was after they did a comparison between mitochondrial DNA that was a sample given by Kathy and matched it to her. There is a detective that worked with this case, and he was with it for years. His name is Detective Lee Tuttle, and he was a part of this case since Priscilla disappeared in 1975, and he was the one that was notified of the match to the Jane Doe. And another thing that's really oddly enough about this is right before they did this testing, this Jane Doe was added into the unidentifieds database, which I found very, very odd, because there's some John and Jane Doe cases that they've been updating their Jane Does or John Does into the unidentifieds database relatively soon right before they're being actually identified. So I find it very ironic that this is the same thing that happened with this case. They also went on to confirm her identity with dental records as well, to in fact determine that this was Priscilla Blevins that they had. Her sister Kathy was also told that there was an autopsy done on Priscilla, but she never received the results of this autopsy, and stated that she wouldn't be surprised if they listed her sister's death as foul play, or like homicide by foul play, or like suspicious death due to foul play. Now obviously this is a solved missing persons case, but it's still an unsolved homicide case, and her missing persons file has now been closed, or is now closed in 2012, and that was after her being missing for 37 years. So that, my friends, is Priscilla Blevins. If you have any cases you want me to cover, please leave them in the comments down below. I would love to know what you want me to cover, and I'll see you guys in my next video.